Policy Committee meeting, September 26th, our work session, and October 2nd, our next regular public board meeting. We have no presentations this evening, so we'll move first to our first public comment period, and we have no one registered in person for the first public comment period. Katie, is there anyone online?
There's no one with raised hands on Zoom.
All right, well then we will move on. Looking at, and I apologize, I'm still getting used to the board docs because we all are. I have the board president report next, and we have the review draft of the 2023-2024 ongoing priority areas and district goals. And if you take a look at that list, it lists out the 5 areas of priority for the district. And we have academic achievement, racial equity, opportunity learning gap, value, and communication. And going forward into 23-24, we list out our goals. In no particular order of priority, the first goal will be finishing the 3-year process of examining the viability of a later school start and end times at Wissahickon, with detailed plans for how the various identified challenges will be met in our district specifically, and including regular staff, community, and stakeholder meetings to invite feedback, and with the intent of implementing the new start times, if approved by the board at the start of the 24-25 school year. And this is year 3 of a 3-year goal. And we did have an opportunity to discuss this in part during our earlier health, wellness, and safety committee, and we'll continue discussing that. Goal number 2 is to support the implementation of a district-wide positive behavioral interventions and supports, PBIS, framework that includes an emphasis on belongingness, anti-bullying, and conflict resolution. And that will also be something that our health, wellness, and safety committee is focusing on. District goal number 3, conduct a comprehensive review of long-term enrollment projections and how they match up against capacity at all 6 district schools, and update as necessary the district's long-term plan for ensuring the district's facilities meet both enrollment and educational needs. Number 4, implement the transition to using board docs as an efficient, easily accessible online warehouse for all district board meeting documents and policy documents in order to enhance the district's ability to communicate with all stakeholders. And as you can see, that is a work in progress for some of us. Number 5, fill key staffing vacancies in district leadership positions and carry out a plan to recruit, hire, retain, and support these key employees and others fulfilling their daily leadership responsibilities. And number 6, conduct a parent awareness reach out campaign to include such topics as how to best advocate and support your child at school, how the community can get involved at school and district level, etc. So those are our goals. That's all I have under my report this evening. Were there any comments or questions about those goals? Everyone was okay with those?
I mean, I have some like wording recommendations or suggestions. I could send them through separately. For example, like goal number 5, like fill key staffing vacancies. That feels like a very finite time in like, you know, we should be kind of more forward thinking and also kind of enduring. Like we also should, like, I don't know, I would like this to say something more about creating an environment where people want to stay, and we're giving them resources where they're learning, where we're giving them opportunities that they're seeking for. I don't know, but goal number 5 feels very, yeah, thanks.
So the last 2 parts, retention and support, like more of a focus on
Like
those, like
more like long-term, like this feels very like helpful for us, but not very helpful for our teachers. So we like, I think that goal should also encapsulate what we think the teachers and our staff want to get out of the district as well. So that's one thing. And then just something I always say every year, like I feel like there should be also some metric or some way that we're going to track these, and that's never really stated anywhere. And I always feel like that's a gap. So if we don't want to have it in a goal per se, but in a supporting document that goes with it as to how we tend to communicate or track or assess these goals would be helpful.
Jim. I know you typically give us an update at some point during the year about where we are with the goals for the year. When do you typically do that?
Try to get that done 3 times a year, so spread out maybe every 3 months or so.
Okay. And what type of more frequency, like, are you looking for an actual chart, Zephy, or would you like more reporting, see like an actual like track, like we have the other trackers?
Either something that's presented to us, like, with charts and data and, trends. That's kind of like what I'm hoping to see.
Okay. And Jim, based on these goals, how do you think you could best do that?
Well, we have to have some conversations about what that actually looks like. It sort of would depend on the goal. So, for example, the later school start and end times, that could look like I guess if we're talking like artifacts, it could be agenda of the meeting in October 2nd, which shares out with families what the childcare options might look like. And then November 2nd, which shares out with families what the athletics. Yeah, I'm not too sure. I think in the end, with number 1 as an example, we have a fall awareness campaign and data sharing campaign, and then there's a decision in January. I don't know if we can track progress on that per se. The other
that's not the best example, but
okay.
Like, for example, PBIS, that I think would have like a really nice way for us to see how things are going with that specifically.
Yeah, are we planning to do another belonging survey at the beginning of the school year? So perhaps if we did
In the spring.
is it possible to do more than one throughout the year to like kind of compare like where we are at the beginning of the year and where we end up the end of the year?
We could certainly explore that. It has not been the recommendation for us to move forward with a multi-year distribution of that survey. But we could certainly explore and get back to the board.
Because some of these, I understand it'd be hard to put into some sort of tracker. Maybe if we could just get, 3 times a year does seem like you are providing updates, maybe just more frequently on some of these things as they're occurring, like with number 6. Like if we have an upcoming presentation or campaign, I know you usually do share out when those are, but if you could kind of let us know this month we're focusing on, X, Y, and Z at this community event that we're having. That way we can kind of be more aware of what's going on and what you're doing to kind of meet number 6, rather than, find out a couple months from now, over the course of 6 months, we had 1 presentation that was given rather than like 3 or 4.
Yeah, I like that idea very much. And also I would welcome that the wording edits, ideas, Zephy, that you had, if you could just email them to me. And then as everyone remembers, nothing's happening tonight with these. I'll make those edits, those wording edits, and we review it again. We don't even vote on it in September. And then the finalized things October 2nd. So we have time to make the goal statements read the way the board would like them to read, and then give some thought to how we might give more frequent updates than 3 months if circumstances dictate.
Yeah, that'd be great. And some of these also like number 5, I think that's going to be something that's just going to happen naturally over the course of the years we have, for example, the WASA contract. I think it's just going to be something that we're going to be working on anyway. I don't know if we need an update if we're actively, working on that.
Right. In those quarterly updates, I mean, we'll say, hey, so on number 5, we've landed the 2 principles, which are key. We'll be discussing any other, we have the IT director actually that will be part of this, and not just to the point made earlier, not just hiring, but also retaining once they get here.
Right. Okay. Any other comments or questions, Dan?
Yeah, just for number 3, the comprehensive review of the district facilities and making sure that they're what we need. I think that's really important. As as a board, that's one of our number 1, I think, most important jobs. And I think we need to look at, I'd like to see, I think we do a presentation on this. Like, I think Jerry had done a presentation on like everything that needed to be done in the next 5 years or what he projected, and then what those would cost about. And I think we need to even look further than that and say, you know, what's our goal toward improving some of the high school things, and how are we going to do it financially? How are we getting there? Just so the public can see that we do, you know, have a plan. We're trying to work toward that, save money toward that goal. And make sure that our elementary schools have enough capacity as well. Make sure that the demographer projections are within what we can actually house at our schools comfortably. Thank you.
What we want, one of the strategies, or I guess, action plans for that number 3 was to have a refresher on the debt primer. It's sort of related to what you're talking about. If we have this list of things we'd like to get done, and we would not have the cash for it. So it's at some point over 10, 15, 20 years, we would need to borrow. Let's revisit that planner we use, updated, of course, because now we've had a couple of debt issues since the last time we looked at it. And I think that matches up very nicely with this goal and the long term beyond 5 years.
Jim, and not necessarily just to focus in on things we can do for the goals, but with regard to number 3, would it be possible that we could set up like tours for the board to take as a whole, rather than each of us? I know many of us have visited the buildings and met with the principals, but maybe rather than, 9 separate tours being given, if we could try to set up some group tours to kind of go through. I think sometimes when we're talking about things that we need at the schools, it's sometimes hard to imagine. But like, for example, going to Bluebell, meeting with Angela and walking around the halls, it's like so obvious, the overcrowding issue, and that work needs to be done. But I'm just like wondering if we could try to like set up some time so we can see some of these items that are on our long-term list and go visit them.
I think that's an excellent example of an action step. And maybe we schedule those out over the course of the year, space them out properly. And it can also dovetail. So for example, the board would want to see the new construction at middle school, the converted old natatorium. So that would be part of that building's tour, for example. When the athletic fields are done at the high school this fall, that might be a standalone tour just because that's outside. But yeah, we can absolutely schedule those in.
That'd be great. Thanks, Jim. Any other comments or questions? All right, seeing none, we'll move on then. We'll go to the superintendent report next. Jim?
Thank you. My plan here was to share out and brag about all of the awesome things that happened this morning, but as it turns out, I was not there. I'm still finishing up my isolation period here. So I'm going to pass that report on to either you, President Ginsburg, or Dr. Dewan, who was the MC of sorts, to share out what happened this morning, because by all accounts, all my spies tell me it was a very positive event. So now I'm even more jealous for having missed it. So Dr. Dewan, what happened there this morning?
Yes, it was an incredible welcome back ceremony this morning. It started with opening remarks by me and President Ginsburg. We then had the WEA co-president, and Ms. Hay gave remarks. She honored individuals with 25 years of experience here in WIS, and then extended that to 30 plus years. It was incredible to see the number of people who have had that longevity in the district, and to take a moment to honor them. We then honored and welcomed new team members into the district with a beautiful video of our new educators who've joined Wissahickon. We took a moment to acknowledge some new faces in our administrative team and some faces who aren't so new but are in new positions. For example, Mr. Jason Falcon, who's here this evening, who is not a new face to us, but is our new Director of Technology, who's on the agenda for board approval this evening. And then we had an incredible opportunity to listen to a keynote speaker who was just dynamic. His name is Chris Singleton. He's a former professional athlete who very sadly lost his mother tragically in a racially motivated mass shooting in 2017. And he became an inspirational speaker. He speaks at companies of different types all across the country. And his message is one of unity and racial reconciliation, spreading love and kindness. And what he says is he's turned his pain into purpose. And so that was the morning. And honestly, there have been so many incredible responses about our keynote, and the powerful lessons he shared and the poignant stories he shared with us. So it was an incredible start to the year. And we were sad that you were not there, Jim, but it was an awesome start.
I would agree. The motivational speaker was amazing. And I heard the same thing. So many of our teachers and staff just absolutely loved him, and were lined up to get his book at the end. And he was just, absolutely amazing. So I think it's what chrissingleton.com.
Mhm.
Yes, I would encourage you to check out his website, some of his speeches. He was really great. So thank you for arranging him. All right, anything else, Jim, on the school opening update?
Not really. We're set for the resumption of our primary focus in life, which is the 180 school days, 182, and all that starts Monday. And the fast and furious preparations of the summer are coming to a head, whether that be transportation or staffing or all the other things that are going on. We'll be ready Monday morning and looking forward to a new school year.
Great, thank you. Any comments or questions? Stephanie?
Jim, anything that kind of we're anticipating? Are we good with our buses this year? Are we anything that, no surprises, right, for Monday?
No surprises whatsoever. We are great with our buses this year. That's what Wade, I'm pretty sure it's what Wade told me, but I haven't been in the office for a few days, so things may have changed. I'm not sure.
Any other questions?
Wait, did it answer that?
I know, right? All right, seeing no more questions, we'll move on. Teacher Wong?
Yes, thank you. For an informational item this evening, I just wanted to share a brief recap of our new staff induction program, which was last week. So that was the actual beginning of the new school year for us. Our induction program is a 3-year program. And so on those 3 days last week, we have employees who are in years 1, 2, and 3 come into the district, and they engage in a variety of different types of learning opportunities. Year 3 inductees engaged with a book study structure that's led by our instructional coaches that focuses on the text, culturally responsive teaching in the brain. And our year 2 inductees engaged in learning sessions with our instructional coaches that focused on differentiated instruction using the lens of equity and cultural responsiveness. And then with our year 3 inductees, they had a variety of learning sessions that were led by administrators in our district. And that focused on many topics ranging from employee orientation with our HR department, to an overview of technology resources and tools with our technology department, to a full day where principals and supervisors and directors facilitated sessions that were dedicated to culturally responsive education, focusing on the Danielson framework, which is our framework for teaching, but through, again, the lens of equity and cultural responsiveness. Throughout the days, the instructional coaches and the administrators who facilitated these sessions always provide opportunities for the educators to connect and have fun experiences. So it's a lot of learning, but it's also very inspirational, very uplifting to give them a great start into the school year. So I want to just say special thanks to all of our instructional coaches, our administrators who are part of the induction program across those 3 days to help our staff, both years 3, 2, and 1, to feel that sense of belongingness, to help build relationships, to help them make connections with one another, and to really launch into the new school year. I do want to give a special thanks to Dr. Schmidt, our Director of Teaching and Learning, for her tireless efforts in coordinating the over the entire induction program. Of course, she has has a host of support, but it really is a labor of love, might I say, in her work. And this is during the busiest time of year for her department, where I don't have this as an informational item, but as we know, this week is the launch into the first 3 in-service days. And so our Department of Teaching and Learning spends an incredible amount of time working with and collaborating with administrators across the district, school administrators, instructional coaches, to have an awesome lineup of professional learning tomorrow for our entire district faculty. So it's a busy week this week as well as last week, a lot of learning and a lot of fun activities. Yeah, off to a great start. This evening, I also have one action item. We'll be seeking a motion to approve a request to waive enrollment provisions for 1 student for the 23-24 school year.
Thank you, Dr. Dewan. Are there any comments or questions? Actually, I guess I first have to ask for a motion. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
With motion to made and seconded, are there any comments or questions?
Just one quick comment. I was here on one of the days at central office with the year ones outside where they were taking a photo, and it was so exciting to see. And they were so, like, they were all glowing. It was very exciting to see. So it was by accident. So I was glad I got a glimpse of that.
Any other comments or questions? All right, seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, motion passes. Thank you. All right, moving on now to board solicitor report, Michelle.
Thank you. For the report, we have I'm seeking approval of a settlement agreement between a family, student, and the district. The terms of which are outlined here in the agenda. So I am looking for a motion to approve, item, I went ahead, thank you. I went ahead in my laptop here, 9.1.
Is there a
So
motion?
moved.
Is there a second? Motion's been made and seconded. Are there any comments or questions? All right, seeing none, all those in favor? Anyone opposed? All right, motion passes. Thank you,
Thank you.
Michelle. All right, board secretary report, Wade.
Yes, thank you. We present for approval the July 17th special public board meeting minutes. So we're requesting approval of action item 10-1.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
There's a second. Thank you. There's been a motion and it's been seconded. Are there any comments or questions?
This is more of a logistical question. Where are the minutes? Like, I couldn't find them on.
Yeah, if you go to the,
Oh, if you don't just go over right over that. Oh, my gosh.
You go to the PDF.
Okay. Sorry, got it.
You got it? Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
No other comments or questions? All right, seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, motion passes. Thank you. Treasurer report, Wade?
Thank you. We are presenting for approval the acceptance and minuting of the treasurer's report for the months ending May 31st, June 30th, and July 31st, 2023.
Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second. Motion's been made and seconded. Are there any comments or questions? All right, seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you very much.
All right, human resources report, Danielle.
Good evening. For your review and consideration tonight, under the HR report, we are seeking approval for the listed retirements, resignations, appointments, and there are many, changes of status, leave of absence, extracurricular changes, volunteer additions, and year-long activities. And you can find these in 12.1 through 12.3. 12.4 represents revisions and updates to the systems and network administrator job description. And then also every year at this time and through the fall, so you'll be seeing this on the next agenda or two, professional staff submit for column movement on the salary schedule for specific levels of educational attainment for master's and doctoral programs. These requests are listed in 12.5. 12.6 is for conference requests. 12.7 and 8 are for the ratification and approval of exploration agreements for our interim elementary building administrators and a mentor. And finally, 12.9 is for the new extracurricular job descriptions. And then this evening, I am seeking approval for the action items 12.1 through 12.9. Thank you.
So moved. Oh, you didn't ask for it.
Oh, you jumped the gun there. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Question's been made and seconded. I'll start off the comments or questions. First of all, Danielle, you said this morning, how many people did you hire?
So we filled 93 positions so far.
That was just
since-
this summer, right?
Since March, well, so since
Since
March, I
March.
mean, we've been recruiting since February. But it's all for the school year. So we had 93 positions that we filled. So some of them were internal, meaning their positions open. So there was a little bit of movement back and forth, but it was 93 positions. And that doesn't include the 53 staff we hired over the summer for our summer appointments. So it was a very, very busy time in HR. So, yeah.
Close to 150 people.
Yeah.
So like close to 150 people. That's like crazy. Wow.
It's a lot. It's a lot. Lots of movement, so.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, and I have a great team and there's no way we could do this without them. And we also instituted the new onboarding system. So all of the folks who went through got to use an electronic onboarding system, which, made it much easier to get, 145 people through the system. So thank you for that. So.
Wow, well, that's just like awesome. When I heard that number, I was like, wow. All right. I also had a question. Well, it's more just if you could clarify for everyone, TOSA. I want everybody to know what they are specifically in our schools, because I think it's great. This is going to help our teachers get back to teaching and our principals back to what they do. So can you really explain for everyone what those are?
Sure. So TOSA stands for Teacher on Special Assignment. So these folks are in our collective bargaining agreement. And if we have a different assignment other than actually teaching possibly in a classroom, we likely will call them a TOSA. So the ones that you're referring to are the 6 new TOSA positions that we have in our buildings this year. So each building is receiving a student support teacher. Just wanted to get those words right. Student support teacher, TOSA's teacher and special assignments. So they will be assisting the administrative office. So they're building principals with many different tasks. So that may look a little bit different in secondary than it might in elementary, but it's a real welcome part of that team. So the principals can do more, get into the classroom more and be able to help instruct our teachers and then also be able to help with some of the things that are happening in our buildings. So I know our principals are very excited for this addition and we'll see how it goes this year. So we selected some really wonderful teachers to be in this role. And then that was part of the 93 having to backfill their roles with long-term subs. So we were lucky to be able to find some great people to do that as well.
Wonderful. Yeah, I saw some familiar names. I think they're going to be great in that position. And I'm really excited to see how this works out and how it helps our teachers and principals.
Yeah, wonderful.
Other comments or questions? Dan?
Yeah, I'm also excited for the support to the principal, and Danielle, thank you to you and your team for all your work this summer and hiring. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? All right, seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, motion passes. Thank you. All right, scroll down. Next is our communications committee report. Debbie?
Jim, you're right. It moved. No items to discuss tonight.
All right, thank you. Do you have any upcoming meetings planned?
No,
Not yet. Okay.
not
It's just
yet.
start of the year. I was just wondering.
I'm still like not in this time zone, so.
I know summer went too quick. And that's right, you're coming back from vacation, yes. All right, curriculum and technology committee report. Ronnie?
I'm going to turn that over to Dr. Dewan. There's quite a few things.
Yes, thank you. We don't have any informational items this evening, but we have 9 action items that we'll be seeking a motion for approval. For item number 1, we're seeking a motion to approve the start and end times for this upcoming school year. Please note that no changes have been made to the 23-24 school year. For item 2, we're seeking ratification of the outplaced educational services and tuition costs for ESY, that's extended school year, for this summer that just ended, summer of 2023, for 2 students that are presented in document 14-2. The board had previously approved the cost for ESY for these students' services. However, there were additional services required for their program, which resulted in a slight increase. For item number 3, this is the anticipated outplaced educational services and tuition costs for the upcoming school year, 23-24 school year, and table 14-3 summarizes the majority of those outplaced services. You can also see the status of each service noted there. Some are still under review with our solicitor, and or some we have not received a contract, and the tuition that we've noted is an estimate at this time. Item number 4 is a request for ratification for an extended field trip for the 22-23 school year. This trip occurred June 2nd, 2023, but it was not brought forth for board approval prior to the trip, and we apologize for that oversight. For item number 5, this is a list of extended field trip requests for the high school athletic teams and clubs and activities, including the boys and girls water polo, baseball, and the WTV club. Item 6 is an annual agreement with the MCIU for Title I services to be provided for eligible students in non-public schools. Item number 7 is our agreement with the MCIU for participation in the Title III consortium. Item number 8 is for Infinite Campus Remote Services for consulting. This is a way that we can support the recent transitions in our technology department. Item number 9 is a service agreement with EduSeer, which is a tool we intend to use as an academic resource for instances when a student may need a more restrictive environment in the emotional support classroom. And there's a memo listed there for item 14-9. So this evening, we're seeking a motion for approval of action items 14-1 through 14-9.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second? Second, thank you. A motion's made and seconded. Are there comments and or questions? Actually, Dr. Vaughn, I did have a question, and I know this is probably something we discuss every time this comes around. But with regard to, let me see which action item it is. The list of the schools that we, the outplacements. There's just a couple of my questions about like what type of facility it is and whether or not these are per year or if it's over an extended period of time. Like BCIU, 186,000, Melmark, 245,000, and Heritage, 145. What types of facilities are, if you know?
I'd be happy to put together a list of the facilities and a description about each facility for the board. The costs that are here are costs for the school year, anticipated costs for the full year. And some of the facilities are more intensive for students who have more significant needs. Some of which are quite extensive in terms of students whose language use or physical needs or medical needs. So depending on the student, depends on what services they'll be provided with, but some do become quite costly due to the significance of the needs and the required intensity of the supports for students.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments or questions? All right, seeing none, all those in favor? Anyone opposed? All right, the motion passes. Thank you. Facilities and transportation, Wade?
Thank you. So the answer to the question about transportation, we do have a good plan. We do have drivers. The good news is based on the construction of Bluebell, we had the goal of adding a bus to Bluebell and also the high school, middle school run, and we were able to do that. So we have one more run than we have had in prior years. And the hope is we're going to send out a note to the Bluebell parents, but we would love them to get on the additional bus. And then by having an additional bus, that'll actually hopefully pull off the times and reduce the times of the other buses at Bluebell. So we're hopeful Bluebell especially puts their children on the bus because with the construction of Bluebell, it is going to be challenging and less cars, more bus will be helpful. So hopefully that'll work out. But we do have drivers for every single run. We do have some backup drivers as well. And we have people in training to, come up through and get their CDL so that as absences occur, and they will, we're hopeful that we'll be able to fill them as the year progresses. So we always start off hopeful and we'll see how we do. But we do have a plan. The motions tonight, the first item is Johnson Controls for the replacement HVAC system at Bluebell for $360,949.05. And that is for the sections that are not part of the new construction. The second is the roof proposal for Stony Creek. And again, it's $25,000 to do the analysis, but that is for the section that was not completed previously as part of the new addition that was completed last year. Item 515-3 is additional fees related to the multipurpose synthetic field project, which is approximately $9,770. That project is going very, very well. These are additional fees related to that. The fourth item are security related, and it is wireless handheld communication devices, and then also some repeater at the high school to provide more boundary information or boundary ability at $42,893.87. And therefore, we're asking for approval of items 15-1 through 15.4.
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
A motion is made and seconded. Were there any comments or questions?
Do we already have a radio system though, and of some sort in our schools?
So our current portable radios, and again, Dr. Crisfield should jump in here too, or anyone else. But our current systems work within the school, and eventually but they're old. And what we're hopeful is when eventually we're able to put the repeater in, is that we're very limited in our ability to communicate from building to building. So that's what we're really looking for, so that there's some ability to communicate emergencies sort of across the district. And the reason the portable devices are needed as opposed to these types of things in a true emergency, these things get bogged down and don't work. So that's why we are going with the handheld portable devices, and the repeater we're hopeful will allow greater breadth throughout the district.
I could also add to that, Wade, that the new devices are digital, and they'll be replacing devices that are almost entirely analog. And so that's just a matter of quality of technology upgrade as well.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions?
Wade, with this issue with the with the turf fields, the synthetic field project, is that increasing the timelines for that overall project, or?
We are ahead of schedule. We're hopeful that the project continues to go as well as it has. We have a great contractor, good oversight of the project. So no, this was just additional work in order to get the various approvals that we needed. That's really all it is. It didn't affect the timeline, and frankly, the timeline's going very, very well.
Thank you.
When are they expected to be done again?
Thank you.
The project's due to be done in the beginning of November. And as far as we know, they are well ahead of schedule right now. So we're hopeful that that we're cutting the ribbon well before that. But
Oh, okay. I didn't know it was gonna be done that quickly. So we can use them as of winter, spring this year.
provided everything keeps going as we're going and we catch the good weather.
Did I just jinx it, maybe?
Provided everything goes as well, yes, we potentially could use us at that time.
This is a window into every meeting I have with facilities, by the way, just so you know. Things never go well.
Do we get our parking spots back at the high school then?
As soon as the construction gets to a point, we're hopeful that we can pull that fencing back and get those spots back. But I do think that we are going to be able to hit the timeline that we publicly told them they were going to be out of commission.
I mean, it's quite the project. I mean, I go by there every single day and it's quite the project. Wow. So it's impressive how quickly that's being done. So thank you for all the work. we're just very curious. That's all these questions are.
It's very, very exciting. It's going to be very, very exciting and fun when we get to all be out there celebrating. Thank you.
Speaking of the parking spaces. Do we have, I know we had a plan in place coming into this year with the existing spots. Once those others open up, I imagine there being a lot of emails about the extra parking spaces. Do we have a plan about who we're opening those up to or how we're opening them up? If we're opening them up?
So are you talking about the high school?
High school, yeah.
So the high school has, I think, communicated their plan pretty well. And I think all it is that when those additional spots are available, they're going to make them available to the students. So Dr. Crisfield or that we can just ask the high school exactly what the plan is, but we're not going to not use them. I think they're going to be made available.
Okay, great. All right, any other comments or questions? All right, then all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, motion passes. Wait, I did have one question on something that's not on the agenda. Where did we leave off with the bus cameras? Are we gonna have them this year? Oh, the bus cameras? Bus cameras?
Thank you. Sorry. The exterior bus cameras. Yeah. So thank you. Great question. The district has done what we really need to do to get that to progress. The documents were then shared. We previously shared them with the townships and the townships had reviewed them. And they had raised certain concerns based on the agreement with the contracted company. And I believe that's all being worked out. I had received an email from one of the chiefs about 2 or 3 weeks ago, just giving me an update that they're continuing, they're interested, they've just got to get through it. And at that point, then we would probably have about a month to a month and a half after that to get the cameras in all the buses. And then we can hopefully sometime during the year implement.
And the townships, I forget, do they receive revenue from this in addition to the district and the company?
They do. It isn't a lot of revenue, but they do as part of, I think it's actually specifically in the the Pennsylvania law, what the division of the fee is and how much goes to the township. And I think that might have been actually one of the concerns just because of how much time they have found it is taking them to oversee their side of the transaction.
Understood. All right, well, thank you for that update.
Thank you.
All right, moving on. Next, we have our finance committee report. David?
Thank you. Amy, we have 6 action items. I'm going to call on Mr. Coleman to present those, please.
Sure, thank you. The first is pretty standard. It's the approval of the financial reports as presented for May, June, and July. And as I had mentioned to the board, we'll have additional statements for June and July next month as well, but there are some that are June and July. We have the approval of the winter sports bid supply, which is again pretty standard and is listed in total on that next page. The approval of the agreement with Power School to renew the Decision Insight enrollment and analytics for the 23-24 school year. As we had discussed earlier, based on some of the capacity concerns, we want to get that updated so that we can talk about where we are and where we think we're going to be going. 16.4 is the approval of the bus schedules. They are done. They have been available to the public to find their buses, and that if anybody has trouble accessing any of that information, they can also come into the central office. We have a copy, as truthfully the schools do as well. Item 16.5 is approval of Indian Valley Appraisal Company and or other appraisals companies to the amount of $16,000. I want to just give a heads up to the board. We are seeing additional activity and people in the commercial side with vacancies are starting to line up. So even as we did this motion, I'm going to be sending something out, but basically it says that there's already one in line as well that we're going to need to get additional fees as well for. And I think that's going to be the trend. So not surprising and not limited to Wissahickon, less people are in office buildings, and the people who own the office buildings are coming back and saying, Well, if I don't get revenue, then it's probably worth less, and they go to court to try to reduce their assessment. So that whole process starts with us hiring appraisals to try to defend as much value as we can. So that's what this does. And regrettably, I'm probably going to be coming back next month for additional money to do the same type of thing. The last item is the list of approval items for May, June, and July. And with that, David?
Yes, could we have a motion to approve action item 16.1 through 16.6?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Motion's been made and seconded. Are there any comments or questions?
Wade, thank you for explaining 16.5 because I was like so confused by that. It's unfortunate.
Yep. You're welcome. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? All right, seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, motion's passed. Thank you. All right, policy committee report, Marshall?
Thank you. There are no informational or action items this evening.
You have
So
an
that's my
upcoming
report.
meeting, right?
We do have an upcoming meeting, so there'll be something to report next.
Okay, well, we'll have a packed room for that, right?
I'm sure we will.
All right, then we'll move on next to our racial equity oversight committee. David?
Yep, thanks, Amy. Sorry, we don't have any informational or action items for this meeting. Thank you.
Do we have any upcoming meetings or nothing scheduled yet?
I think October will be the first meeting.
Trevor? Great, all right. All right, then we'll move on next to our health, wellness, and safety committee report. Rosetta?
Yeah, thanks, Amy. Just an update on the committee. We had a meeting tonight and I will meet with Dr. Dewan, Dr. Crisfield to set up a cadence and just a schedule of dates for the meetings, and we'll assign our top priority issues for the year, and that will be distributed when we get that done. Thanks.
Great, thanks, Rosetta. Any comments or questions? All right, seeing none, we'll move on now to our report of board representatives. Marshall, extracurricular.
Thank you. I do have an extracurricular committee update for everybody. This evening was a busy summer. The committee met a couple of times to make some changes. In conjunction with the approval of the extracurricular job descriptions in 12.9 that we heard earlier today, the committee approved the following new clubs for the upcoming school year. One is an outdoor educational club, one is a yoga club, and one is a podcast club. The outdoor education club provides leadership opportunities for high school students to lead outdoor education sessions for elementary school students. The podcast club is for students who want to either host or co-host their own show and learn how to network, grow, and support their own show. And then, of course, the yoga committee is to teach and follow different yoga disciplines. So those were approved for the upcoming year. Sadly, there were some that were discontinued due to either lack of attendance or lack of interest. Those included the Ukulele Club, the Future Realtors Club, the Model UN, the Pop Culture Club, and the Project Lit Club. Now, just because they were discontinued this year because of a lack of either interest or students doesn't mean that they're gone for good. If, as usual, and with every other club, if there's interest, if people come forward and want to do them, they are more than welcome to put out feelers, and we can always add them if it becomes feasible once again. So unfortunately, those had to be discontinued, but again, we had several new ones. We also discussed some adjustments for how we evaluate certain clubs during the course of the year on a yearly basis to ensure that we're getting all that we can out of them and make sure that they are viable and feasible during the school year. So that's a recap of what happened this summer. Having spoken with James Cairns, our Director of Athletics and Activities, he wanted me to express thanks in a couple of ways. First, he wants to thank publicly all the teachers, everybody who steps up to help out with all of these clubs, all of our students to make sure they have a wonderful experience. Number two, he wanted to thank my fellow board members as well as our administrators for all of the help, whether it's financial or simply support to make sure that we can produce all of these programs and all of these committees and clubs so that, again, our kids get a wide array of opportunities to do things outside of the classroom, to learn and grow, and to mix with their fellow classmates, teachers, and do things that spark their interest. So with that, I will present a report the next time we meet.
Great, thank you so much. That was great to hear about all those new clubs we have. I'm really excited about the yoga club.
I understand you will be in charge of the yoga club per my notes. No, is that incorrect?
I am sad to see the Model UN go. I was in Model UN in high school. So I'm sad there's a lack of interest.
I invite you to reach out to anybody who may be interested and form a club.
Bring it back, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, any other comments or questions? All right, well, thank you. Next are the MCIU reports, and we have not met yet, so I do not have a report. North Mako, Zeppi or Ronnie?
We could both do it.
All right.
Oh, you
I'll
want to
start.
do it? Okay, go
Start.
for it.
Last night's meeting was interesting. It was an overview of their induction program. And the director went through the steps that they take to get everybody on board, professional development, their workforce, and their student achievement. They analyze the industry and determine the needs and look at student outcomes.
I thought their presentation was excellent. I actually forwarded on to everybody if you wanted to peruse it. And their motto for the year is consistency. So everything that they're doing with staff, with students, curriculum, it's wrapped around the theme of consistency. So I thought it was really interesting. Things are looking good there.
Awesome, thank you. Any comments or questions? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to our PSBA report.
Yeah, so the PSBA conference is being held in October, and I when I first saw it, I'm like, oh, I have some interest in going. It's a leadership conference, but I saw that we approved Dr. Dewan and Dr. Crisfield to go, so I'm going to let them go and learn all the things. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Deanne. Any other comments or questions for that report? All right, then we'll move on to our Employee Relations Committee. Deanne?
Oh, I wasn't prepared for this, but I guess I can talk about it. Yeah, so in a couple weeks ago, was it? We met with WASA, which is the administrative employee group. And I thought it was a really great meeting. We just got to share in the presence of Danielle and Jim, or Danielle, were you there? Yeah, Danielle and Jim. So everything was on the up and up, but just share concerns and thoughts about what we can do as a board to make things better for them and how to support them better. And I thought it was a really good start and a really good conversation. So thank you to the WASA representatives.
Yeah, I would echo that. Thank you for them to come and meet with us and discuss those issues openly with us. I really appreciated that. I would also note, out of the ERC, we did have a meeting several months ago with representatives of the union. And out of that, which you probably saw the email, we found out they wanted some WISWare or, something to represent Wissahickon, build some school spirit. So we did announce yesterday that they will all be able to choose a WIS clothing item that they'll be able to get through, what is it, a website that we have set up? So everybody will get some sort of WIS clothing items. So hopefully they'll build some school spirit, camaraderie. But that was very exciting. And that came out of ERC. That was something we heard from them. And we were able to provide for them.
Does that include board members, Danielle?
In for Board Appreciation Day.
I'll get my check in the mail. My check's in the mail. It's fine.
Any other comments or questions? All right, then we'll move on now to our second public comment period. And I do see we have 2 speakers registered. They are both members of the Hunch family. So which one of you would like to go first? Okay. You can push me. And I will remind, my two speakers, maybe also somebody online, you have 3 minutes to speak. We don't engage in dialogue with speakers, when appropriate, we'll follow up with responses on our website. And just state your name and residence. Mhm.
Okay, start over. Okay, my name is Amanda Hunt and I live in Whitpain Township. I'm speaking both as a nationally certified school psychologist and also as a parent. My daughter and I are here this evening to speak on behalf of all of our children who struggle with math. As we both stated at the last board meeting, there are children within our district whose needs are not being met in the area of mathematics. Our reading support program is phenomenal. We utilize a multi-tiered approach to intervention in our reading program during the early years of development, which is critical and does work. It's true that reading is the foundation of all subjects, and without the ability to read, one can't succeed in any subject. However, math has its own unique language. Math has its own foundations apart from reading, built upon during the early elementary years. Like reading, math has its own windows for learning those foundations, and early intervention must be a priority. As I stated at the last board meeting, I was able to find 8 neighboring districts that utilize math specialists or math interventionists up to and or including the 5th grade. And I'm confident there are more. The feedback I received from several members within the district is that it would be too costly for us to do that here. In my research, I found that the district budget for the 2023-2024 school year is $119,478,508. If we hire 1 full-time math specialist at each elementary school, let's say with benefits, it would cost the district $100,000 per employee. And I think that's a little on the higher side. It would only cost the district 0.3% of the budget. Just think about that for a minute. Another obstacle to having math support is determining when to pull the children out of class time for small group instruction. As this is done for reading, I am confident there is a way this can be accomplished for math. Math specialists can also push into the classrooms instead of pulling students out. I would urge the district to investigate how other surrounding districts utilize math specialists as well. There is the idea of providing an after-school program for students who are in need of math support. What I've been told is the hurdle is a staffing issue. My questions are, what is the district offering to attract teachers to this position? And are we advertising this position? And if so, where? Could we consider a before school program as well for students? As a school psychologist, I cannot stress enough the importance of early intervention for math. Time is of the essence. It is critical to the success of our students. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Amanda. Katie, is there anyone registered online?
We don't have any speakers on Zoom tonight.
Okay, great. Thank you. Then we'll move on to Caroline.
Hi, I'm Caroline Hunt, and I'm going into the 5th grade. I've been having trouble with math ever since 3rd grade. As you heard last time, I think our district should have math support. I think while math is happening, a math teacher should come in and help the kids who need help. And the kids with the teacher would stay in the class, but if they needed help, they could get help from the teacher. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much. It's wonderful that you're able to come up here the second time and speak in front of the board. So thank you. Katie, still no one online?
Correct. No one on Zoom.
All right, then we will conclude the second public comment period, and I will open it for board comments this evening. Ronnie?
heard from several constituents about the poisons that we put all over our lawns, grasses, and everything. I think it's time to look at the management that we do and what we use. We use Roundup, which is one of the most potent poisons around. It affects everything, the bees, the air, the water, the grass. And in addition, we put up this little flapping sign for a day or two to say that we've sprayed or spread poisons. So I would like us to take a look and see what we can do for a better program.
Wade, is that something you're able to do?
Sure, we can have a facilities meeting at some point. Maybe we can do it in conjunction with a look at the 5-year plan. I think that was discussed as part of the goals. We have had a discussion, and there's certainly pros and cons of all the options, but we can certainly do that.
Great, thank you. Other comments or questions, Zephy?
A comment and a question. So I want to just say I'm very excited for this year. Danielle, thank you for all the hard work for getting everybody in. I think we're in for a great year, so I'm very excited. There's a lot that needs to be done, so we'll have to just be patient with everything. My only question is, for some of those subcommittee meetings, I feel like they are not as well advertised or I miss the reminders on them, and some of them I'm really interested in attending. So if we can just ensure that, you know, all the subcommittee meetings are also listed for those who may not be core members but are still interested, can attend, if we could do that moving forward.
Yeah, I think that's a great suggestion. And Katie, where on board docs? Like, I'm assuming there's somewhere here that lists out under meetings, maybe? No.
So on the that featured homepage, you'll see next to the meetings box, there's a box called events. And that has all of our committee meetings as well as our work session and regular public meetings for the year. So you'll see that our upcoming policy committee meeting is listed, as well as all of the REOC meetings as well. And as soon as we have them, they're published right here in the event section.
Okay, great. Zephy, do you envision like some other sort of push out, or is this?
No, this is really helpful. No, this is really great.
Any other comments or questions this evening?
Yeah, I'll just quickly say, Amanda and Caroline, thank you for speaking. I'm certainly not against adding math specialists. What I do, though, I think mostly is rely on the educational expertise of Minyewe and Jim to say what they think is best in our district. And I think you had mentioned you thought maybe an after-school program would be something that we could do. Could you let us know by next meeting where we are with that and how we can get teachers to staff that potentially? What do you think?
Absolutely. We should see on the next board agenda, actually, our framework for the after-school program so that we can get it started early, which means an early start to advertising to solicit. And I'm working with our new supervisor of curriculum, Sue Kanapka, and Dr. Schmidt. We are looking at how we're framing that so that the segments of time are shorter. So instead of teachers needing to commit to a lengthy, 12 to 14 week program, they could commit to a 6-week program, and there would be 3 segments of 6 weeks of after school program. So we have a couple of other creative approaches that we're doing to make it a little more hopefully accessible to teachers to sign up.
And is that for all grade levels, or would you target the 3rd through 5th or 4th and 5th?
Right now, the structure is grades 2 through 5.
Great. And also, with regard to the time blocks, so I know when we add extended recess, we did modify time blocks. Did math stay the same? Did we add extra time to math? Do you recall?
I do.
Okay. I'm just curious if you could get back to us and just let us know
Absolutely.
if we got more time, less time. All right, thank you. Any other comments or questions? All right, well, seeing none. I moved off the agenda. All right, I'm assuming I just need a motion to adjourn at this point.
So
It'll
moved.
take me a while to navigate back there.
So moved.
Is there a second? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, motion, our meeting adjourned, and I don't have the hammer this evening. So.
Thank you, Katie.
I'll just knock it. All right, thank you.